from my home, everyone inside softly dreaming. Yes, I need your trouble, like I need a friend. Won't you come and sit in my windowsill again?
I'm prepared to take questions now. You. Yeah, you. Okay, yeah, you. Yeah. What's your question? When did I first realize that I was on the path to sainthood? That's an excellent question. I mean, I think it's fair to say that from a very early age, quite possibly infancy, I knew that I would one day write the journal of my soul. I just, had no reason to suspect there'd be so much sex in it or that it would be Exhibit A of my FBI file. But there were two particularly influential religious texts in my life. The first came along at a time when I was, really going through a rough patch. It was like I was living my life in black and white. I felt like I was becoming really detached from the world. I was becoming really jaded. I was 8. And then one day, my father brought home this boat-size, RCA color TV, and he moored it in the middle of the living room. And I spent a lot of time in front of it, studying.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
It's dawn, and Alpha Troop 19 is commuting to war. "21 GIs bound for a jungle clearing a mile from the Cambodian border."
Rough war. Have a cigarette. No, thanks. I prefer Pall Mall.
Claire Roll invites you into a garden of earthly delights.
Better things for better living through chemistry for the finer world we want.
I'm Yosemite Sam, and our craves a shot of red-eye.
Sorry, Doc, we only serve Tang here.
If you had Mattel's Barbie in some of her new outfits, just think of the fun you could have together. You can tell she's Mattel. She's swell.
And then one day when I was turning the knobs, there it was, Brother, Sun, Sister Moon by Franco Zefferelli in Technicolor. Are you familiar with it? Okay, that was a rhetorical question, but yes, about the life of St. Francis of Assisi. And by the same director who made Romeo and Juliet. You are a very smart girl. Lots of saturated colors, lots of men in tights. So St. Francis was this very privileged, honestly very hot medieval guy who goes off to the Crusades, right? This Catholic holy war in the Middle East, or maybe he just goes to Perugia. But like a lot of other, wealthy medieval guys, he's, searching for glory and real filthy lucre.
Where wealth was sacred. He lived in a time when war was holy.
But when he gets there, he's actually sickened by the slaughter. And so he goes AWOL. He becomes like your basic medieval draft dodger. And by the time he arrives back at his father's house in Assisi, he's running a very high fever, and he falls into a coma and has a series of hallucinations in which he sees the face of God, whatever that is. And when he awakens from the coma, he's like Lazarus. It's like he's seeing the world for the first time in all its beauty, its vividness, its intensity. And he's purged of desire for all material things, and he turns his back on his father's wealth, and he actually like drops his clothes like in the middle of the street. I mean, it's a little outre, but it's for a really good cause. And he becomes this like fool for God.
And in his innocence, he made a world where only truth was sacred and only life was holy.
Brother sun and sister moon.
He wanders around like speaking with birds and like hugging lepers. And I mean, there's a consent issue there. There's a consent issue. I mean, not every leper wants to be hugged. They're actually really delicate. But St. Francis is like this really sensitive guy, so I'm pretty sure he would have asked first. And then Francis meets St. Clare. And I mean, the two of them are actually really pale for Italians who spend a lot of time out in the sun. Maybe they're like Jesus that way. But together, the two of them are both so awake and so in love with the world that like flowers and bees look all glowing and magnified, like you're wearing those X-ray glasses they sell in the back of comic books next to the Partridge Family sea monkeys. And the two of them go running through a field together to a soundtrack by Donovan, and Claire's hair is flaxen and sunlit and blowing in the wind, and there's like no split ends. That was my epiphany. That's when I knew. That's when I knew I wanted to be a saint, that I wanted to like live my life in Technicolor, or at least, have other people see my life in Technicolor. And I wanted St. Francis for my boyfriend. Or if I'm being, totally honest, I think I just really wanted to be St. Francis and have Claire as my girlfriend. I'm still struggling with that. So the second really influential religious text in my life would have to be the Song of Bernadette, starring Jennifer Jones.
So magnificently did Jennifer Jones interpret the part of Bernadette, the peasant girl in Franz Werfel's The Song of Bernadette, that from the moment this great motion picture was first publicly presented, there was no doubt that it had given the world a new, incomparable star.
So Bernadette is this simple peasant girl, and she, of course, mostly does like simple peasant things. And then one day she has this vision of the Virgin Mary who tells her to dig in the ground. And, Bernadette begins to dig, and she takes her digging seriously. She's really going at it. And then pretty soon, the villagers show up. But they're laughing at her. They're mocking her. Suddenly this spring bubbles up from the ground, and it's filled with like pure, sweet, healing water. And, pretty soon people are seeing through sightless eyes, and they're throwing down their crutches and walking. And, overnight, Bernadette goes from this like nobody to like this miracle worker. And, pretty soon people are coming from like all over Europe. And of course, the Vatican shows up and wants a piece of the action. And so, they build this basilica on site. And to this very day, you can buy some very affordably priced, Virgin Mary night lights, bottle openers, bolo ties, and, definitely snow globes. Lots of merchandising opportunities. But, Bernadette gets cut out of the franchise and sent off to this convent where she has to room with this really bitter, mean old nun who like hates her for how good she is. And she like suffers silently with this like gaping sore on her leg. And it's not ideal. It actually oozes. But, she dies in this scene where she's surrounded by sobbing well-wishers and by nuns singing, "Climb every mountain." That's the opposite for me. That's when I knew that I wanted to be simple and loving, a spiritual seer like Jennifer Jones, but mostly to have other people like really resent me for how good I am. And I want to die in this long, protracted death scene that will leave my parents in the entire third grade feeling really guilty about how badly they've treated me. And I definitely want my own theme song.
Bernadette! Give a soul to me!
What you want, who you be, what you need, why you talking to me? Don't be quiet, I'm a needle to the weave. Better talk or you'll fall through the seams. You found what you lost, have you lost what you found? Do you really understand how you sift for a love in the sand? Like a leaf inside the wind, and you go where it tells you to go, but you never wonder why there isn't nothing here at all.
I I find that we are all the same. We all just play a game and never show just who we are. Like actors, you're a star, you shine far brighter than the rest. Among us, you're the best, but when the show comes to an end, who will watch you pretend? You need a stage to light your life. You never show your strife, don't you think it's a little strange? Your face just stays the same. I don't know if you've got a heart. You don't show who you are to me. You're just another name who hides behind his fame.
Are you scared, little man? Do you run from the sounds? They go creeping in the night. Do you cringe from the voice in your head? Are you afraid to be alone? Do you go where it tells you to go? Have you never wondered why there isn't nothing here at all? You're just afraid to be alone, and you run from the void in your heart. And you never wondered why there isn't nothing here at all.